What are you going to eat when it's 60 below zero outside and the nearest store is over half a mile away? Why is fresh blood and frozen fat worth more in the Arctic than any food we're used to? We're heading to a hunting camp nearly 90 miles from civilization. Manik just got back from the city, and he only has 12 days to figure out how to survive in a place where the air literally burns your skin. He has exactly 18 minutes to unload his gear before the 58-degree below zero frost paralyzes his body. Inside these bags are 156 pounds of strange food. That's the total supply for 4 people. But will it be enough? Why will Manik's body burn 5,500 calories a day in this cold, while his meals provide much less? What's going to happen to him on the 9th day when that energy deficit hits a breaking point? And which of the 20 secret Inuit foods will keep him from freezing from the inside out? We're starting a survival experiment in the polar night, where food is the only technology standing between a human and death. Get ready to see what's usually hidden behind the ice. What happens if you swap a hot breakfast for a chunk of frozen protein that's harder than wood? The first item on the survival list is an Arctic char weighing about 5 pounds. This fish was flash frozen at 40 below zero just 6 hours after it was caught. That speed creates microscopic ice crystals that don't damage the cells, perfectly locking in the nutrients. In the Arctic's natural freezer, this fish can stay good for 4 months without losing its edge. Outside, it's 58 below. The char is as dense as solid oak. Manik tries to cut it, but the knife just slides right off. An expert named Atak shows him the move. He changes the angle of the blade and cuts strictly along the grain. He ends up with translucent slices only 2 or 3 millimeters thick. Why does that matter? That thickness gives the food the most contact with your tongue. The chemical analysis of this meal is wild. 3.5 ounces of char packs 3,000 milligrams of omega-3. That's 3 times more than store-bought salmon. For Manik, during the polar night, this is a critical source of vitamin D and 22 grams of pure protein. The fish is eaten strictly raw. The slice melts instantly in his mouth, and within 15 minutes, the fatty acids kickstart thermogenesis. Manik's biological reactor flips on, and his body starts generating heat. Atak serves up 5-ounce portions. The breakfast is only 180 calories. It's not enough to feel full, but it's a tactical move. Cooking a hot meal would take 40 minutes. In extreme cold, that time is worth more than the calories. This is the fastest way to jumpstart the body before heading out onto the ice. The fish gave Manik his first spark of energy, but to last all day in the frost, he needs some serious fuel. The next item on the survival list is a big deal: muktuk. This is whale skin with a thick layer of blubber. We've got a piece weighing nearly a pound. The fat layer here is over 2 inches thick, almost the width of a palm. It looks like a weird layered cake. On top, there's tough black skin, and underneath, it's pinkish-white blubber. Muktuk is the true Arctic orange. 3.5 ounces of this skin has more vitamin C than an entire citrus fruit. In the Arctic, this is the only way to keep your teeth from falling out due to vitamin deficiency. On top of that, this stuff provides a massive energy boost, 320 calories in one small piece. Atak cuts the muktuk into 2 by 2 centimeter cubes. He hands them out to the group before they head onto the open ice. The rookie Inuit hunter Tulik is only in his 2nd season, and his body isn't used to such heavy food yet. He tries to chew, but the whale skin is incredibly dense, like tough rubber. After 3 minutes, his jaw gives out, and he makes a huge mistake. He swallows a chunk whole. Bad move. His stomach is going to have a much harder time breaking down a piece that big. Instead of warming up fast, Tulik is forcing his body to waste energy just trying to process the fat. The effect of the muktuk kicks in after 25 minutes. Manik and Tulik feel a wave of heat spreading through their bodies. Blood starts pumping faster to their hands, and their fingers stop feeling numb. This is a lifesaver. In the deep freeze, this internal warmth lets them handle metal tools without worrying about their skin sticking to the iron. Atak eats about 7 ounces, but he only gives Tulik 5. The lead Inuit hunter knows that if you eat too much fat when you're not used to it, your stomach will do backflips. In this kind of cold, that's a death sentence. Dehydration from an upset stomach strips away a hunter's protection. Without enough water in the system, the body stops holding heat, and a person can turn into a block of ice in just a few hours. The whale fat helped Manik and Tulik survive a brutal day on the ice. But for a long night in a frozen shack, the body needs some serious fuel. On day 2, the hunters take down a 143-pound seal. After cleaning it, they're left with 66 pounds of dark, almost maroon meat. It's so dense that it takes real muscle just to cut through it. But for people in the Arctic, this is the ultimate superfood. 3.5 ounces of seal meat has 4 times more iron than the best beef. That iron acts like a turbocharger for the blood, carrying heat throughout the body. The Inuit hunters don't waste any time and get a pot over the fire. The meat boils for 90 minutes. Because of the air pressure here, water boils at only 194 degrees Fahrenheit, so cooking takes longer than usual. Outside, the temperature is dropped to 61 below zero, but inside the shack, it's only 54 degrees. This is where the seal meat shows its real power. After dinner, blood rushes to the stomach, and Manik feels a genuine heat radiating through him. This internal heater effect will last for 8 hours. It lets the hunters sleep soundly, even when the stove goes out at 4 in the morning and the room temperature drops to 28 degrees. While the group sleeps, their bodies are working overtime processing the protein, generating the energy needed to stay warm. Portions are strictly managed. Atak eats 14 ounces, Tulik eats 10, and the biggest guy in the group, Iku, takes down 18. But fresh meat doesn't last forever. On the 4th day, Atak is going to open a jar of a secret reserve that the Inuit call an energy bomb. Manik doesn't know it yet, but one wrong bite of this animal can kill a human in just 12 hours. By the 4th day, the vibe at the base shifts. The seal meat is almost gone. There's only enough for maybe 3 more days. While a storm rages outside, making it impossible to hunt, Atak pulls out his golden reserve, a jar of walrus fat. It's a solid 1 3/4 pound block that looks like old yellowed lard. It feels as hard as wax and won't even melt in a warm hand. In the Arctic, this fat is the most efficient natural battery on the planet. 1 single gram provides 9 calories of energy. Just 1 jar packs 7,200 calories. That's enough to keep a crew of 4 working hard for nearly 2 full days. Atak slices the fat into 5mm pieces. It's eaten strictly raw. It tastes like heavy seafood with a sharp, bitter kick. Tulik winces, struggling to swallow the slippery chunks, but Atak just watches him in silence. He knows there's no other option. Unlike carbs that burn up instantly, this fat digests very slowly. It feeds the body a steady stream of energy for 12 hours straight. It's the only way to work in the cold all day without hitting a wall. The walrus has a deadly secret too. Atak gives Tulik a stern warning: never touch the liver of this beast. For a human, it's pure poison because of the insane concentration of vitamins. Just 14 ounces of that liver can kill a grown man in 12 hours. Tulik nods and takes the lesson to heart, but the weather outside is only getting worse. Soon the storm will be so bad they won't even be able to step out of the shack, and Atak will have to open a bag of food that smells so foul it'll make Tulik want to gag. Why do the Inuit purposely let food rot for a month and a half? And why is this spoiled food the very thing that saves them when the cold breaks every record? On the 5th day, the weather completely spirals out of control. The wind is hitting 40 miles per hour. The temperature drops to 63 below zero, but with the gusts, it feels like a terrifying 78 below. Going outside now is suicide. Exposed skin turns to ice in just 2 minutes. The group is trapped in the tiny shack, so all they can do is save their energy and eat. Atok drags a heavy bag out of the corner, and a sharp, stinging smell immediately fills the room, making everyone's eyes water. These are salmon heads that have been fermenting for 6 weeks. To someone from the city, this smells like totally rotten food, but for an Arctic hunter, it's gold. Tulik immediately turns to the wall, burying his nose in his jacket. To him, the stench is unbearable, but Atok is completely unfazed. He slices a head in half, revealing soft, gray meat inside. The secret is that over the last month and a half, bacteria have done all the heavy lifting. They've softened the tissues so much that you can eat the whole thing, cartilage, gills, everything. It's the perfect zero-waste fuel. 3.5 ounces of this stuff has 18 grams of protein and a massive dose of vitamin B12. But the most important part is the healthy bacteria that keep the gut working when there's zero plant fiber in the diet. Atak sets a plate in front of Tulik and says flatly, "Eat or stay hungry. There's no room for picky eaters here." Tulik takes the first bite and nearly chokes, his face turning red with disgust. Meanwhile, Iku and Nuka finish their portions fast without a word. They know it's just about fueling up for tomorrow. They know the storm will break soon, and the group will have to make a dangerous trek to the coast for something hidden under the icy rocks. On the 6th day, the storm finally lets up, and the Inuit hunters make a 2.5-mile trek to the shore. Hiking through waist-deep snow takes them nearly an hour and a half. Their goal is hidden under the icy edge of the water. During low tide, Arctic mussels become accessible on the rocks, but getting them is a brutal test of endurance. The water temperature in the bay is only 34 degrees. Manik and Tulik plunge their hands into the icy slush, searching for shells among the stones. It's a literal race against time. After 30 seconds, their fingers stop working, and after a minute, they lose all feeling completely. They have to grab as many as they can in 15 minutes before their hands literally freeze solid. They end up with nearly 7 pounds of shellfish. The mussels are eaten right there on the spot, raw. The meat is firm and sweet without that typical fishy smell. Why risk frostbite for a handful of mussels? The answer is in the numbers. 3.5 ounces of this meat contains an unbelievable dose of vitamin B12. Over 7,000% of the daily requirement. In the Arctic, it's not just a vitamin, it's protection against losing your coordination and getting weak. If Tulik gets dizzy from a lack of nutrients and slips on the ice, it could cost the whole group their lives. Each hunter eats a portion weighing 26 ounces. That gives the body 645 calories and a powerful boost for the nervous system. Nobody throws away the empty shells. They're carefully tucked into a bag. Later, Atok will grind them into a fine powder that serves as a calcium source for the whole crew. But the shore hides another vital resource. Right under their feet, beneath the water, long and slippery grass sways in the current. Cut it fast before the tide comes in. Atok literally forces Manik to get back into the freezing water. Manik is in shock. Why mess with some slippery grass in this brutal cold? But Atok knows the secret. This salty kelp is like a start button for the body. These ordinary seaweeds make Tulik's body produce heat twice as fast. And without this grass, he'd start freezing from the inside out, even if he ate a mountain of fat. Manik listens to Atok and slices long, slippery ribbons of kelp right near the bottom. These brown plants reach nearly 7 feet in length. In just 10 minutes, the hunters gather 11 pounds of wet cargo, even though their hands stop working in the icy water after just 1 minute. Kelp is very low in calories, only 43 per 3.5 ounces. But in this survival protocol, it acts as a chemical igniter. Seaweed is the most powerful natural source of iodine. There are 2,500 micrograms of this element per 3.5 ounces. It's also packed with magnesium, potassium, and calcium. For Tulik and Manik, this is literally the ignition key for their entire system. Iodine is necessary for the thyroid gland, which regulates the metabolic rate. At 60 below, The internal metabolism has to run at full blast. If the body doesn't get enough iodine, the internal heater will start to fail. The body will simply stop turning the fat he ate into heat, and the hunter will start freezing from the inside out, even after the heaviest meal. That's the shortest path to fatal hypothermia. Tuluk tries the kelp raw, cutting it into thin strips. It's slimy, rubbery, and tastes like concentrated iodine. He swallows it with difficulty, fighting back intense disgust. The hunters take the rest of the harvest to the shack and hang it right over the stove. In 3 days, the kelp will dry completely and turn into crunchy plates that can be stored for a whole year. On the 7th day, the usual diet of fat and seaweed is interrupted. The group bags a polar ptarmigan. At first glance, this little bird, weighing only about 1.5 pounds, has too little to offer 4 men. But Atak is already prepping his knife to use the entire catch, including the bones and even the stomach contents. Tuluk doesn't know yet that this strange, bitter broth will be their only shield before they have to face real hunger. After plucking, each bird provides only about 14 ounces of meat, which Atak throws into the pot whole. After 40 minutes of boiling, dinner is ready. This meat is noticeably fattier than regular chicken. 3.5 ounces contains 24 grams of protein and 5 grams of fat. The bitter aftertaste that threw Manik off is normal for winter. Right now, the ptarmigan feeds on willow and birch buds, and these plant juices soak into the meat, helping the hunter's digestion. The portions are divided strictly equally, 14 ounces for everyone. In conditions where the body burns 5,000 calories, this is incredibly little. That's why all the leftover seal meat they manage to save goes into the pot. But the main secret of this meal isn't the meat, it's what's usually thrown away. Atak won't allow a single bone to be discarded. They are crushed and boiled again until they get a thick broth. A cup of this bone tea is only 20 calories, but it has a different job. The hot liquid instantly warms up the internal organs. When the walls of the shack are frozen through, this kind of internal heating is more important than a full stomach. It allows the body not to waste energy on warming cold water in the belly, but to send it straight to work the muscles. On the 8th day, the group gets lucky. They take down a female caribou weighing nearly 200 pounds. After butchering and skinning, the hunters are left with 77 pounds of dark red meat. This product is very dense and almost completely fat-free, only 2%. 3.5 ounces contains 30 grams of pure protein and 5 milligrams of iron, which significantly exceeds the levels in standard beef. The energy value is 140 calories. For Manik and Tuluk, this meat becomes the main building block for muscles that wear out fast from constant strain in the cold. The preservation process starts immediately. Part of the meat is sliced and sent into the pot, and the rest is hung in the icy wind. The Arctic's dry air works like a natural dehydrator. In 3 days, the meat loses 60% of its weight. As a result, 77 pounds yields only about 30 pounds of jerky. These supplies can be stored for up to 6 months without losing their properties. It's a strategic reserve for long treks when lighting a fire in an open space with strong winds is impossible. During dinner, everyone gets a portion of 1 pound of boiled meat. Atak eats very slowly, working his jaws thoroughly. Caribou meat is structured like tough rubber and requires long chewing so the stomach can take it. Tuluk makes a serious mistake. Because he's so hungry, he rushes and swallows the meat in large chunks. An hour later, his stomach feels as heavy as a stone. Lean meat takes twice as long to process as fat. Instead of resting and saving energy, Tuluk's body is now forced to waste energy on a complex digestive process. That kind of rushing robs the hunter of proper sleep and recovery before the next outing. By the 9th day, the situation turns serious. There's only about 18 pounds of meat, 2 pounds of fat, and a small handful of berries left in reserve. Atak makes a decision. It's time to prepare pemmican. This isn't just food. It's a legendary last hope product that has saved northern hunters for centuries during prolonged storms. The job of pemmican is to pack the maximum amount of calories into the minimum volume. The process starts with prepping the base. Atak methodically grinds the dried caribou meat with a stone until it's a fine powder. It takes several hours until he has 4 pounds of meat flour. Meanwhile, they melt about 1 3/4 pounds of seal fat in the pot. It's important to keep the temperature around 140 degrees. The fat should become liquid, but not start to burn. Once the right consistency is reached, Atak mixes the meat, fat, and dried berries into one thick mass. They form dense bricks weighing 1 pound each from this mixture. Every brick is a total calorie bomb, containing 3,000 calories. Just one brick completely covers a man's daily energy requirement for heavy work in the cold. The main feature of pemmican is its fantastic durability. The fat hermetically seals the meat fibers, allowing the product to be stored for years, even without refrigeration. The hunters make 4 bricks. Atak leaves 1 in the shack's emergency cache, and the group takes the other 3 with them. Now they have insurance. However, on the way out of camp, Manik notices the wind direction has changed, and tracks have appeared in the fresh snow that don't belong to a caribou. The group doesn't know yet that the smell of fresh meat has attracted someone who isn't afraid of bullets or the frost. And now the hunters themselves have turned from the pursuers into the prey. While Manik tightens the cargo straps on the sleds, constantly looking back at the shadows beyond the camp's edge, Atak starts making the most paradoxical food of the north. The snowmobiles are already warmed up, but before the long march, the group needs an instant energy jump. The old hunter holds an ordinary bowl that will become a source of a calorie explosion in 15 minutes. This is the preparation of a kutuk, a traditional Arctic ice cream where pure animal fat energy is used instead of cream. The recipe for a kutuk is pure physics. Atak takes 7 ounces of caribou fat and starts whipping it rapidly by hand. From the intense movement and the cold air, the fat changes its structure. It becomes saturated with oxygen, turns white, and gets airy like a cream. 4 ounces of crowberries and cloudberries go into this mass, followed by 10 ounces of fresh, clean snow. After vigorous mixing, you get 21 ounces of a thick pink mixture that doesn't melt even in warm hands. The energy concentration here is phenomenal, 800 calories per cup. Atak divides the mixture into 4, giving everyone about 5 ounces. For Tulik, this dessert is a shock. In the middle of the freeze, he gets a portion of 480 calories that tastes like a berry sorbet. But the sweetness here is deceptive. This is heavy animal fuel that makes the heart pump blood faster. Tulik eats with surprise, enjoying the texture, but Atak remains silent. For him, it's not a treat, it's a strategic resource. The berries in the akutuk are the only barrier keeping the hunter's teeth in their gums. As soon as the bowls are empty, Atak takes out the last cloth bag with the remains of the summer harvest. These sour fruits weigh only about 2 pounds, but inside them is hidden the power to stop the rot of a living organism that the Inuit call scurvy. Inside the cloth bag is a concentrate of the Arctic summer, a mixture of crowberries, cloudberries, and lingonberries. This is the group's only carbohydrate reserve, where 3.5 ounces contains 12 grams of sugar and 45 milligrams of vitamin C. With a total calorie count of only 50, the value of this product isn't measured in energy, but in the biological survival of tissues. In the cold, the dried fruits become hard as buckshot and take time to thaw in the mouth. The hunters use 2 ways to eat them. The simplest is to eat the berries dry, like vitamin pills. If you want, they release a concentrated acid that instantly gets your saliva going and helps clear your palate after eating all that heavy animal fat. The second way is brewing them in boiling water. This makes a sharp, deep red tea packed with antioxidants. A drink like this helps the kidneys handle the protein waste that overloads the body on a strict meat-only diet. Cloudberries are the star of this mix. They have 4 times more vitamin C than an orange. In the polar night, they're the only reliable shield against scurvy. Without them, a lack of vitamin C quickly leads to collagen breaking down. Your blood vessels get brittle, your gums start to bleed, and old scars can even start reopening. Historically, scurvy killed up to 40% of northern explorers, leaving them unable to move in just 2 months. ATAC strictly controls the supplies. Every day, he gives Tulik a 30-gram portion. That provides 15 milligrams of vitamin C, the bare minimum that, along with nutrients from the raw meat, keeps the body from falling apart from the inside. While Tulik chews the sour berries, trying to mask the taste of seal, ATAC moves on to the next remedy. Vitamins will save your tissues, but they won't help if blood stops reaching your fingertips. For that, you need a drink made from rhododendron leaves, which can force blood flow through the smallest capillaries. Wild rhododendron leaves, known as Labrador tea, are like natural blood doping for your vessels. In extreme cold, the heat from a stove isn't enough to protect your limbs when your blood starts to thicken. ATAC takes 10 grams of dry leaves and pours 1 liter of boiling water over them. It steeps for exactly 10 minutes. During that time, the water pulls tannins and essential oils from the plant, turning it into a concentrated medicinal brew. The main secret of this drink is how it affects peripheral circulation. The compounds in the rhododendron force the capillaries to expand, sending blood flow to the furthest points, your fingers and toes. The effect kicks in after 20 minutes. In the Arctic, that's the difference between keeping or losing a limb. When an Inuit hunter has to take off his mittens to work with the frozen metal of a rifle or fix a snowmobile at 60 below, this internal heat is what prevents instant frostbite. ATAC drinks 2 cups a day, in the morning before heading into the frozen gloom, and in the evening for recovery. For him, it's a routine his body depends on. Tulik drinks the tea with total disgust. The taste is heavy, bitter, and earthy, with a sharp, resinous edge. ATAC doesn't waste time lecturing him. He knows that in the north, you only realize the value of bitter tea when the alternative is losing your fingers. Tulik has to learn for himself to choose between a bad taste and a permanent disability. While the blood flow recovers, ATAC preps another supplement. Berries alone aren't enough to protect your immune system in this kind of cold. He pulls out dwarf pine needles gathered back in the autumn. This evergreen brew has an even sharper taste, but the vitamin concentration is way higher than dried fruit, making it the body's final shield before the long road home. Dwarf pine needles, picked in the fall just before the first deep freeze, are a concentrated biological shield. ATAC measures out exactly 20 grams of needles and pours 500 milliliters of boiling water over them. The steeping process takes exactly 15 minutes. In that time, the water turns a pale green, pulling out resins, essential oils, and a critical dose of nutrients. Every cup of this brew contains 70 milligrams of vitamin C and a significant amount of vitamin A. Even though it has almost 0 calories, only about 5, this drink solves a fundamental survival problem. Scientific data confirms that vitamin C from fresh pine needles is absorbed by the human body at an 80% rate, while dry Arctic berries only hit 60%. This makes the pine tea the most effective anti-scurvy tool in an Inuit hunter's arsenal, working faster and better than any pill. The taste is heavy, acrid, and resinous, with a distinct evergreen bitterness and acidity. Tulik, whose body is already worn out by 10 days of an extreme diet, literally chokes on every sip. His face twists from the sharp taste of the essential oils, but ATAC stays firm. "Drink it or get sick," the old man says flatly. He knows that in the Arctic, illness doesn't start with a cough. It starts with the internal collapse of the immune system. Skipping just 1 serving of this bitter tea can make a person vulnerable to infections that spread at lightning speed in this cold. They drink the brew strictly once a day in the evenings. This lets the vitamin boost jumpstart the tissue recovery process while they sleep. As Tulik finishes his portion, ATAC notices Iku rubbing his lower back. Hours of butchering caribou in the freezing wind have taken their toll. To ease the pain in his muscles and joints, Attack is already looking at the frozen branches of a polar willow. Hidden in their bark is a substance just as powerful as modern painkillers. On the 11th day, the body of Iku, the strongest Inuit hunter in the group, starts to fail. 8 continuous hours of butchering caribou in the icy wind have left their mark. His back muscles are cramped and hard as rock from the constant strain and the cold. There are no pharmacies in the Arctic, but Atak knows how to turn a frozen tree into medicine. He cuts several branches of polar willow and carefully starts peeling off 15 grams of young bark. The preparation process requires precision. He pours 400 milliliters of boiling water over the bark and lets it steep for exactly 20 minutes. At this moment, a chemical extraction of salicylic acid happens, the natural version of modern aspirin. 1 cup of this brew contains about 50 milligrams of the active ingredient. That's enough to block the pain signals and knock down the inflammation in the Inuit hunter's overworked tissues. Iku drinks the brew, and within 40 minutes, the natural painkiller starts to kick in. That sharp pain in his lower back backs off, letting him move again. But Atak keeps a tight grip on the process and won't give Iku a second round. Overdosing on willow bark during an extreme trek like this can be fatal. If you drink more than 3 cups a day, the high concentration of salicylates will cause intense nausea and sharp stomach pains. In a place where every calorie counts, a reaction like that will drain your strength completely. Atak knows the dosage like the back of his hand, so Iku is limited to just 1 cup. While the pain fades, the old man turns his attention to Tulik. Living for days on nothing but meat and fat is a brutal test for your gut. To keep the digestion from grinding to a halt, Atak pulls out bundles of dried fireweed. These shoots, gathered back in the spring, are their next medicine. Instead of the tea we're used to, they're going to be used as tough plant fiber. Without it, keeping your stomach working in this frozen wasteland is basically impossible. By the 11th day of this extreme journey, the all-meat and fat diet pushes the hunters' bodies to a dangerous edge. Animal protein is almost entirely absorbed in these conditions, leaving none of the bulk needed for the bowels to function. Without rough plant fibers, the digestive system literally freezes up, leading to a buildup of waste and a massive crash in energy. To avoid that internal toxicity, Atak uses the dried fireweed gathered during the tundra's short spring bloom. Dried out, these shoots look like a bundle of gray twigs that crumble in calloused hands with a dry, scratching sound. While cities value fireweed for its fragrant tea, out here, it's the only vegetable available. After 10 minutes of soaking in boiling water, the stems become flexible and fibrous, taking on a stringy texture. 3.5 ounces of these shoots pack 30 milligrams of vitamin C and vitamin A, plus a huge dose of plant fiber. Despite having only 40 calories, its biological role is huge. The fiber acts like a mechanical broom, forcing the digestive tract clear and keeping the system running on a rhythm, even with 0 other plants in the diet. The soaked fireweed tastes like overripe wild asparagus, with a distinct, heavy bitterness that lingers on the tongue. Tulik eats his portion with total disgust, struggling to grind the slippery, tough fibers between his teeth. His body, starving for fatty calories, fights against this tough plant mass. But Atak eats methodically, showing no emotion. An experienced hunter knows that in the north, taste doesn't matter compared to physical necessity. Constipation in the frozen desert isn't just an inconvenience, it's a direct risk of losing your focus and stamina. This portion of bitter stems guarantees the hunter can head back out into the frost tomorrow, with a clear head and natural ease of movement during the grueling trek. When a polar journey hits its peak and the body's resources are totally drained from the constant battle with the cold, the human brain starts to glitch. Fatty meat and seal blubber give the body heat and building blocks, but brain cells need a specific kind of fuel that's almost impossible to find in this endless white desert. Atak pulls small round tubers from a bag, about the size of a marble. These are cotton grass roots, a plant you'd easily recognize in the summer by its fluffy white heads. But right now, its real treasure is buried deep in the frozen ground. Inuit hunters gather these tubers in late autumn, digging them out of the half-frozen earth before the tundra is buried under deep snow. For people in the north, these roots are practically the only reliable source of pure glucose. 3.5 ounces of this stuff contains 18 grams of carbohydrates and a dose of fiber, totaling about 80 calories. While the rest of the group's diet is focused on warming the internal organs and maintaining physical muscle strength, the cotton grass roots work with precision to feed the nervous system. Without that shot of glucose, a hunter's concentration inevitably drops, reactions slow down, and the mind feels like it's stuck in thick mud. That's when a person starts making tiny mistakes that, in extreme cold, can instantly become fatal for the whole group. Attack gives Tuluk a small 50-gram portion. The tubers are eaten raw after being peeled of any leftover dirt. They make a distinct crunch when you bite them, and their dense texture is like a fresh hazelnut. Tuluk literally freezes in surprise. The roots taste noticeably sweet. For the first time in the 11 days of the expedition, his taste buds are picking up something other than salt, bitter herbs, and heavy animal fat. The glucose hits his bloodstream almost instantly, sending a powerful signal to his brain. The fog in the young hunter's head starts to clear fast, and his vision becomes sharper and more focused. This isn't just a brief moment of culinary joy. It's a vital nutrient boost for his neurons, giving him back the ability to think clearly and act effectively right before the most critical stage of their journey. Breathing in 60-degree below zero weather turns into a dangerous trial. The icy air literally burns the bronchial lining. Nuka, who's been working in the open wind for hours on end, starts to develop a heavy, racking cough. In this situation, any delay risks the onset of acute inflammation, which is almost impossible to treat in the frozen wilderness. To save his buddy, Atak pulls out some wild rye, or alkali grass, tough coastal grass picked during the height of the short northern summer. This plant is a pure concentrate of essential oils. Among Inuit hunters, wild rye is prized for its insane aromatic power. Just 2 small dried leaves are enough to completely change the taste and smell of a quart of thick meat soup. But right now, Atak is using it as a powerful inhaler and natural antiseptic. He brews a bundle of it in boiling water, and a sharp, resinous scent, like juniper and sea salt, instantly fills the shelter. Nuka leans over the cup, breathing in the hot steam packed with essential oils. The components hit his respiratory tract immediately, easing the spasms and opening up the vessels in the damaged tissue. Then, he slowly drinks the brew. The wild rye works fast. Within 1 hour, the dry cough softens and his breathing becomes steady and deep. These tough leaves, carefully saved since summer, are the only barrier between a minor illness and a deadly complication. Nuka slowly gets his strength back, losing that agonizing burn in his chest. There are 87 miles of frozen wasteland ahead. That's 6 hours of non-stop snowmobile riding through ice ridges and snowdrifts. The Inuit hunters won't have time or a chance to stop. Day 12 starts with prepping the final energy reserve. Atak pulls out a thermos with 2 quarts of fresh seal blood. Up until now, it's been deep frozen at 4 degrees below zero. Making this dish is a delicate process. The blood is slowly heated to 176 degrees, not boiling, so the protein structure doesn't break down. He adds 7 ounces of finely chopped meat and 2 ounces of fat to the pot. Under the heat, the blood starts to clot, turning the liquid into a dense, heavy mass with the texture of a thick meat cream soup. The nutritional value is staggering. Every 3.5 ounces contains 8 grams of protein, 2.5 milligrams of iron, vitamin B12, and 90 calories. The soup has a complex, mineral taste with a sharp metallic edge. Tuluk freezes as he looks into his bowl. The sight of the dark, steaming mass triggers an instinctive disgust, and he's in no hurry to pick up a spoon. This isn't a choice, it's the last meal before we head out, Atak says flatly. He knows that unlike chunks of jerky, blood is absorbed by the body almost instantly. In just 30 minutes, the nutrients hit the bloodstream, giving the muscles and brain the energy they need to fight the vibrating handlebars and the icy headwind. Tulik eats slowly, literally forcing himself to swallow every spoonful, while Iku and Nuka finish their portions with their usual calm. Attack eats in silence, saving his energy. The path ahead will demand absolute focus from every one of them. And this blood soup is their last chance to fuel up so they don't freeze in their snowmobile seats halfway home. 12 days in this frozen hell have come to an end. The Arctic math is simple and harsh. Everything they caught has been weighed and lashed to the sleds. The total weight of the catch is 196 pounds. That load includes 62 pounds of caribou meat, 99 pounds of seal, 31 pounds of jerky, and 4 pounds of pure fat. On the market, this is worth about 4,500 Canadian dollars. But behind those dry numbers is a massive cost. Fuel and gear expenses hit $2,800. The group's net profit is $1,700 for the 4 of them. For 12 days pushed beyond human limits, each Inuit hunter earned just $425. While Attack does one final check on the straps, Tulik sits motionless on his snowmobile, staring into the endless gloom. He's finished his first real shift. His body has changed. In this time, he burned more than 60,000 calories. His metabolism has rewired itself, and his taste buds have gotten used to things that used to make him gag. He survived by learning to see blood, fat, and raw meat not as food, but as the only way to keep his internal furnace burning. He's no longer the kid who winced at the smell of fermented fish. Now, he's part of this land. Attack shoots him a quick look without saying a word. In these parts, a master's approval isn't expressed in praise. It's a silent recognition that the rookie handled it and is ready to come back for the next shift. The snowmobiles roar to life, carrying the hunters away from their temporary shelter. The base is left empty, and in a few minutes, the wind will completely blow away any trace of them being there. The Arctic doesn't forgive weakness, but for those who accept its rules and share its meager meals, it allows them to return home. You've seen the 12-day journey and the 19 products that separate life from the eternal cold. Which one impressed you the most? Could you drink a cup of warm seal blood to survive in the frozen desert? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our new explorations of the limits of human possibility. Just the facts and the true sounds of nature.